Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Perhaps there's also a distinction when we use the word easy, because some people take easy to mean I just want to quickly drop weight for the wedding or the event or whatever, and just I don't care if I feel like crap because I've done this before and I'm accustomed to the physical and emotional pain that comes from having my insides rotor-rooted, whatever. But I think perhaps there's also a category of people that are looking for what is the most low effort in terms of, okay, I'm willing to do something that may be a bit more time consumed, that may take longer to kick in, but I just don't want to expend hardly any effort. It's like, can I replace my McDonald's burger with a McDonald's salad with the fried chicken on top and like still make it? Or like, what is the most low effort in terms of how it actually feels to make these changes?
No, that's great. Well, this is where I think intermittent fasting was very appealing to a lot of people. They're like, oh, I just have to skip breakfast. Like, I'm not usually that hungry anyway, and I'll just have lunch and dinner, and I'm good. That was for the people that really jumped on board and it worked. That was what made it easy. Was that like the behavior was simple enough, but it was effective because it cut out 25% of their calories. They just weren't eating those anymore. And because people tend to wake up in the morning with a surge of cortisol, that's like the stress hormone, that can, for a lot of people, that's like, it kind of dampens hunger. And so people are like, I'm not that hungry in the morning. Like that's a thing, for some people, and especially if they chug a bunch of coffee, or they have like coffee with a little bit of like, fat in it, like MCT oil, like just something to kind of just like, okay, the caffeine gets an adrenaline push, a little bit of fat kind of quiets like the brain's like, I need some fuel. And they're like, I'm satiated. And then lunch comes around and then dinner comes around. They can eat and they can kind of do their normal thing. So that was an easy way for some people. They didn't, I remember like a client of mine back in the gym days when I was like doing personal training back at the CrossFit gym. He was like, yeah, I'm just doing the intermittent fasting thing. I'm not changing anything else. I'm just skipping breakfast and it's working great for me. I was like, cool. Like, okay, if that approach to caloric restriction works for you, like my question to him would be like today, I'm like, hey, how's that intermittent fasting thing going? It's like, there's no way it's happening. It's like, he did it. It was a kind of a low effort 6-month thing, and maybe less, and it was over. Mm-hmm. So that's one way. So you just manipulate your time window of eating. Some people are like, hey, I'm just cutting myself off at 5 p.m., not eating after 5 p.m. I dropped 10 pounds. It was amazing, And then slowly but surely over time, like they haven't fixed the behaviors that make them hungry at 7, 8, 9 p.m.
Right.
They just had they were motivated enough for that short period of time to cut that off, and it worked. And it was like, that was super easy because I didn't have to change anything. I just had to put this one little stopgap, right? But they're still not eating enough protein in the morning. They're still underfeeding throughout lunch. They're not drinking enough water during the day, and so they're not getting quite enough sleep. So every day at 9 p.m. they get this hunger craving, and after 4 months of having their 5 p.m. cutoff, they just kind of get relaxed on it, and they're like, I'm back to binging at 9 p.m. every night, and the weight came back on. Yeah. So they didn't take the time to fix the habits that were harder to fix. They chose the easy route, which is like, I'll just cut this thing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like you said, there's just like, okay, I'm gonna cut sodas out,
right?
Which is that's hard for
that can be hard for
that
people.
Can be super hard, but with enough diet beverages or enough replacements for that, they could do it for a certain number of months. And I'm not saying that cutting out sodas is like the wrong approach. Like if you want to create a healthier approach to nutrition and weight loss or weight management over time, like it's likely gonna take you removing caloric beverages in place of drinking water. But like if you're just I want something easy, it's like, well, what's the one thing that I can change that might have a big enough impact so that I don't have to change any of my other behaviors? Mm-hmm. And if that's the approach, like I'm going to change this one thing and I don't have to change anything else, then there's a good likelihood that that thing will come back. If you're like, what's the first thing I can change because it's the easiest, but I want that to be a stepping stone to the next thing I'm going to change, and then the stepping stone to the next thing, so I can build these habits and stack these habits and get to a place where they're all kind of synergistic in helping me build like this really great foundation. That's a powerful approach, but not one that people, we're talking about, like when they're looking for the easy. They're like, well, what's the one thing? So yeah, it could be take out caloric beverages, time restriction, cut yourself off at a certain time, or, don't eat one of your meals of the day, your breakfast meal.
I was also thinking about, not sure if you saw Layla Hormozi's reel on this, but she lost 50 pounds at one point she said she took everything she normally ate and just cut it in half and just ate half of it. Literally, like the cinnamon roll and the steak and the everything. So, but I think that there is a distinction between these things that you can do to make an easy change to start losing weight and kickstart that process. And maybe that helps you build momentum, but it's not necessarily the thing that's going to help you actually shift into a lifestyle that can maintain that and give your body appropriate fuel.